You sit in a conversation. Someone asks what you really think about the topic. Your mind goes quiet. You smile, nod, and say something safe that mirrors them. Later, alone, a quiet shame settles in. Why don't you have opinions that feel truly yours? Why does standing for something, even small, feel risky? This isn't laziness or lack of intelligence. It's a deeper pattern many feel but rarely name, the hidden shame of having no strong opinions. You adapt so smoothly that your own preferences fade into the background. You notice it in small moments. Friends debate a movie or a restaurant choice. You genuinely don't mind. Or worse, you once had a faint preference, but it dissolved the moment someone else spoke. Decisions that should feel personal, career moves, weekend plans, even what clothes you wear, leave you scanning others for cues. This pattern shapes your identity quietly. Your self-talk whispers that you're agreeable, easygoing, low maintenance. But underneath lives a hollow feeling. Who am I when no one is watching? In relationships, you become the perfect listener, the flexible partner. Yet closeness never quite lands because parts of you stay hidden, even from yourself. You fear conflict, not because you're weak, but because disagreement once threatened connection. This connects to a well-known psychological pattern, the social chameleon or adaptive self. In personality and attachment research, many develop this as a survival strategy in environments where authenticity carried risk. Your brain learned that safety came from blending in. You are not broken. This pattern is an intelligent adaptation. Think of your younger self in a family or school where strong opinions created tension, criticism, or withdrawal of warmth. Expressing a different view risked rejection or emotional distance. To stay connected and regulated, your nervous system prioritized attunement over assertion. You became highly sensitive to social cues, mirroring tones, adopting views, softening edges. This kept the peace and preserved belonging. It worked. That's why the pattern remains, even when the original threats are long gone. The result is a fragile sense of self. When your opinions shift with the room, your internal anchor weakens. You feel invisible, not because you lack value, but because you've practiced disappearing to stay safe.
Here's the psychological mechanism. Your brain uses predictive processing and social mirroring to navigate uncertainty. Mirror neurons in areas involved in empathy help you automatically simulate other states. In some people, especially those with high sensitivity or histories of inconsistent attachment, this mirroring becomes dominant. Instead of a strong internal working model of "this is what I value," the brain defaults to external cues for emotional safety. It's like a thermostat set to match the room temperature rather than holding its own. The mechanism protects against social pain, which the brain codes similarly to physical pain. Disagreement or disapproval trigger threat responses in the anterior cingulate cortex, the same region that registers rejection. To avoid that discomfort, cognition bends. You genuinely start to feel neutral or adopt the group view. Over time, repeated adaptation creates identity diffusion. Your preferences never get reinforced through expression and reflection, so they stay weak or unformed. Cognitive dissonance plays a role too. When your behavior conflicts with a faint inner signal, discomfort arises. Most often, the brain resolves it by suppressing the inner signal rather than risking conflict. The hidden shame grows because part of you senses the gap between the adaptable self you show and the quieter self you rarely meet. This isn't hypocrisy. It's your brain doing what it evolved to do: prioritize connection and threat avoidance in social environments. You might wonder, can this ever change without forcing a fake confidence? The answer lies in gentle, brain-aware steps that rebuild an internal reference point. Here's a practical framework grounded in psychology. Step 1. Create safe micro-moments of preference awareness. What to do? Several times a day, pause on tiny, low-stakes choices. What song to play, which route to walk, how you like your coffee today. Notice the first subtle impulse before scanning for others' opinions. Say it out loud or write it down, even if it feels unimportant. Why it works? This activates and strengthens neural pathways associated with interoception and self-referential processing. Small, repeated expressions reinforce your brain's sense of an internal locus without triggering big threat responses. Real-life example. You're ordering lunch alone. Instead of defaulting to whatever's fine, you notice a quiet pull towards something spicy. You order it. The brain registers, my signal mattered and nothing bad happened. Over weeks, these micro-moments build a quieter confidence in your own preferences. Step 2. Practice benign disagreement in safe relationships. What to do? Choose one trusted person and intentionally express a mild differing view on something neutral, like a book interpretation or movie ending. Start small and notice the bodily sensation of discomfort without immediately softening. Why it works? This gently exposes the brain to predicted social threat in a controlled way, allowing extinction learning. The amygdala learns that mild difference does not equal abandonment. Behavioral psychology shows that gradual exposure rewires avoidance patterns. Real-life example. A friend says they loved a popular show. You felt it was overhyped. Instead of, yeah, it was great, you say, I liked parts, but it felt too long for me. The conversation continues, no rupture. Your nervous system updates its model. I can be slightly different and still belong. Step 3. Rebuild through values clarification and narrative reflection. What to do? Set aside quiet time to explore what matters to you beneath opinions. Ask, when do I feel most alive or at ease? What situations drain me, even if I pretend otherwise? Write short sentences without judgment. Then connect them to past moments where you adapted versus moments where you felt more real. Why it works? This draws on narrative identity work in psychology. By authoring small stories about your experiences, you strengthen autobiographical memory coherence and self-continuity. It moves you from a purely relational self to one with internal anchors. Real-life example. You realize you feel most at ease in quiet creative spaces, even though you've spent years joining loud group activities to fit in. Writing this down highlights the pattern. Next time a group invites you, you notice the old pull and can choose differently with more awareness. Step 4. Observe the chameleon without self-attack. What to do? When you catch yourself shifting opinions in real time, mentally note it with gentle curiosity. There's the adaptation again. No forcing an opposite stance, just awareness. Why it works? Mindfulness and self-compassion research show that non-judgmental observation reduces shame spirals and creates psychological space for new responses. It separates behavior from identity, lowering defensiveness. Real-life example? In a meeting, you start echoing a colleague's strong take. You notice mid-sentence. You pause, then add one small qualifier that reflects your actual thought. The sky doesn't fall. The brain slowly learns that partial authenticity is survivable. These steps don't demand you become outspoken overnight. They rebuild the muscle of internal reference gradually, respecting how deeply the adaptation is wired. Tie it together with one simple mental model, the inner compass versus the room thermostat. The thermostat constantly adjusts to keep harmony with the environment, useful for survival, but it leaves the room without its own steady climate. The inner compass has a true north, even if it wobbles at first. It doesn't ignore the weather, but it provides direction when choices arise. Your work is not to smash the thermostat, it's to strengthen the compass through repeated low-stakes use. Over time, the two can coexist. You read the room wisely while knowing where you stand. You may still adapt sometimes. That's human. The difference is you'll do it consciously, not from hidden shame.
In the quiet moments when no one is asking for your opinion, you start to hear a faint but steady voice. It doesn't need to be loud or certain yet. It only needs space to exist. That voice is not the enemy of connection. It's the beginning of a self that can truly meet others because it finally meets you. You don't have to figure out everything you believe today. Start with one small, honest preference. Let it stand, even for a minute. The shame softens when it's met with understanding instead of judgment. And in that softening, something steady begins to form.